This is southern Utah. Today it is a dry desert area, but 200 million years ago, it was very different. Lake Whitmore, formerly called Lake Dixie, dominated the landscape.
The wildlife was different as well. Dinosaurs. We know about them from fossils, but bones can only tell us so much. How do we know what they did? When you step on damp ground, you leave behind a record of yourself, a footprint. Dinosaurs left footprints too, and one of the best places for Jurassic footprints is at the Johnson Farm in St. George, Utah. In February 2000, Dr. Sheldon Johnson, a retired optometrist, was excavating a hill on his property when he discovered a dinosaur footprint on the bottom of a block of sandstone which had been flipped over. It was a Eubrontes track.
You'll notice that the track name is different than the dinosaur. So we name tracks separate from the animals that make them because there are a lot of animals that make the same types of tracks. And we don't want to confuse that or make it seem like all of these tracks came from one single species, because that's not normally the case. A lot of dinosaurs make 3-toed footprints. A lot of mammals make 4- or 5-toed footprints that all kind of look similar. So we try to distinguish that.
Eubrontes were made by something like a Dilophosaurus. A large carnivorous dinosaur, it would have ruled this area. This is Coelophysis. Its tracks are known as Grawlator. It was a smaller carnivorous dinosaur that may have been on the menu for Dilophosaurus.
But right in here, there's a Eubrontes. If you look really close, there's a Grawlator right inside of the Eubrontes. And so we can see that dinosaurs definitely like stepping in each other's footprints. That might have been because it was easier to step in a footprint that was already made, or they just happened to step right there. They also might have been running from it because, as you can see, this comes up. So this is the top layer. So this Grawlator would have been formed first, and then the Eubrontes would have formed over it. So it could have been that they were chasing each other.
Another common track type was called Batrachopus. It was made by an ancient crocodilian, Protosuchus. Apart from these, there were other smaller tracks around as well.
We have a few different tracks in here. One right here, we have labeled as a cynodont track, and it has been named Brasilicnium until recently. I'm writing a paper on it, so I'm trying to decide whether it is Brasilicnium or something else. And then this skull is from Kyantotherium, which is the animal that we think made Brasilicnium. And then in here, you can see there's like a little squiggly line that kind of goes all along this. And that is from a fish swimming back and forth. And so its fin on its belly would have been dragging along the sediment, and that would have helped to make some kind of trace. And you can see it in this picture a little bit better. It shows up. So you know that fish were swimming around. And then on this one, there are some tracks. They're kind of hard to see, but there are more Batrachopus tracks over here. And then in here, we have these, which they're some little burrows, probably made from something like a worm, burrowing through. And burrows are also a really common thing that we have here. You can also see right here we have more, and these are Scolethos. And Scolethos is one of the most common burrow types. And they're just kind of circles. They look almost like a raindrop. And then this trackway right here is really cool. That was actually just published on, so this sign that we have hanging up for it is actually wrong, because the sign says it's Capicnium, and that means that a horseshoe crab would have made it, and they have redone this, so now we know that it was something like a crayfish or a crawdad, and they would have been roaming around at that time, so we know that it could have been something like that. And so the trackway just goes along right here, and a student from Utah Tech University just published that. It came out earlier in 2022. So.
We know about the animals, but what about the environment that they lived in? How do we know about that?
And then in here, we've got a really good example of symmetrical ripple marks in the back. So ripple marks happen from the either water or wind moving back and forth. Wind ripples are typically a lot bigger. These were made from water. And because they're symmetrical, it means that water was moving in and then out. So if they were asymmetrical and they kind of bowed a little bit, then that would show that there was water moving one direction, kind of like a river. But we were in a lake system or fluvial system, and so that means that you get symmetrical ripple marks. And then down here, there are raindrop impressions. They're a little bit hard to see, and so they look almost like those Scolethos burrows, except that they kind of have a rim on them. The burrows don't. So they're a little bit different, but raindrops are super rare to have impressions of, and we have a few of them here because we had such a nice environment to preserve fossils in. And then right here we have some plants. So over here we have a conifer. It's called St. Georgii. And then right here we have something called Milnerites, and this one is named after our local paleontologist. He discovered it, but he didn't name it. You can't actually name specimens after you, or new fossils after you. So this one was named after him though, but published by someone else. And then St. Georgii he found and named. So those ones are really cool. They're totally local. And then over here you can see it's just half of a leaf. This picture gives you a better idea of what you're looking at. But yeah, it's just half of a leaf impression there. So that one's fun to look at.
Now we are ready to construct a day in the life of the dinosaurs. It might have started with coelophysis hunting. A lot of coelophysis hunting.
So this whole block is one, and we had to lift it into the building before there was a roof with a crane and just get it placed here. So it can probably never be moved. It's huge and way heavy because it's also super thick. So this has, I believe, 14 trackways on it. They're all graulator, but they are different sizes. So like this one is a totally different size than that one. And so we know that different animals were running around, but they are all graulators, so we're pretty sure that they were all coelophysis running around, just at different stages in their life. And so we have someone currently looking at all of our graulator tracks, and she goes to the University of Utah, and she's just trying to distinguish some new facts about graulators. So we've got that happening also. So there's always active research.
They may have even hunted fish.
So, huge benefit of this museum was that we found swim tracks. And so the dinosaurs would make scrapes all along the bottom of the lake, and that is from swimming, from kicking off on the sand. Just like you would do in a swimming pool or in a lake if you were swimming. So we have a bunch of these swim marks all over here. And this was really important because up until we were discovered, everyone was debating whether dinosaurs really swam, and we were a huge contributor to show that they really did swim and that they make marks while they're swimming and kicking off. So,
as the day moved on, the hunters might have come back, both the ones of the land and the ones of the sky.
So right here, you can see that we have pterosaur tracks. And so what it is it's their footprint and then where they would have laid their hand down. So you can see just a little bit of the handprint along their feet. And so we do have some pterosaurs that were running around here. Not a ton, and we don't have very many preserved. So
There's one more really special fossil. It was made by a Dilophosaurus.
on the replica, you can see that there is a footprint right here and a footprint right here, same up here. And those are butt tracks. So it would have actually been sitting down. And so this is where its butt was when it sat. And then it got up a little bit and it moved. And so that's why there's the two sets of footprints, the two sets of butt traces. So this one's pretty cool. There's only a few of those in the world also. So we're really lucky to have that. And you can see that it is right here. It's just marked on the ground. So there's the ischium or the butt track, and then the footprints right there. And this trackway, actually, if you follow it all the way up, it leads to where the Dilophosaurus is standing right now.
We know so much about dinosaurs. We know what they did, where they lived, and what they ate. But there's still so much to learn. What will we discover next?